Welcome to this explainer. Now to kick things off, I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Imagine a terrace, perfectly curated, feeling almost like a memory gallery. It's quiet, it's peaceful. Picture a heavy brass emblem sitting on a table, the kind that used to use to seal ancient spice crates. And right next to it, there's a small packet of rose petal-coated almonds. This beautifully symbolic setting comes straight from a fascinating piece of source material we're looking at today, titled Walk 7 Part 2, Branding and Loyalty. We're going to use this narrative to take a deep dive into the true architecture of identity. We are officially stepping away from dry corporate spreadsheets today. We're going to explore how a brand is really built, not just as some recognizable logo, but as a deeply rooted, lasting intimacy.
Okay, let's jump right into this absolute gem of an opening thought from the source. A character named Mira, sitting on that very terrace, places the brass emblem on her notebook and hits us with this profound realization. She says, branding is not just image, it's intimacy. And wow, what a reframe, right? What she's getting at is that we have to stop thinking of branding as mere recognition. It is not just about spotting a brightly colored box on a crowded supermarket shelf. It's a relationship. It's literally the exact moment a name transforms into a promise in someone's mind. So we're framing our entire conversation today around this exact idea.
Section 1. More than an image. Let's look at the foundational mechanics of how we actually get to that level of intimacy.
If you crack open literally any standard business textbook, you're going to find a pretty clinical definition of brand management. Averov, another key figure in our source text, breaks down the textbook version perfectly. It's the process of creating, maintaining, and evolving a brand's identity, perception, and value. You know the drill. It encompasses your market positioning, your messaging, your graphic design, and the customer experience. But honestly, if we just stop there, we're missing the entire heart of the matter.
Because Mira pushes right back against that rigid textbook definition. She states that brand management isn't just about control, it's about care. And the source gives us two gorgeous real-world examples of this. First, think about a cooperative dairy that built its whole brand around trust and tradition. They didn't just redesign a milk carton, they shared real farmer stories, highlighted ethical sourcing, and celebrated seasonal rituals. They established a genuine presence in people's lives. Then, there's a publishing house that deliberately set itself up as a sanctuary for unheard voices. They carefully curated their books, hosted intimate events, and built readers' circles. That isn't just corporate identity, you guys. That is pure intimacy.
Section 2. Building true brand equity. Let's talk about generating real value when you manage a brand with that kind of care. To really wrap our heads around this value, we can look at David Aaker's classic brand equity model. Simply put, brand equity is the extra value a brand brings beyond just its basic functional benefits. Aaker's model gives us four main pillars: brand awareness, perceived quality, brand associations, and brand loyalty. But rather than leaving this as some dry academic theory, our source grounds it beautifully. A local bakery actually used this framework to assess its emotional resonance with the neighborhood. They realized their real equity wasn't just that their pastries tasted amazing, it was that their customers vividly remembered the warmth of the entire experience. Their strongest association was comfort, not just calories.
Now, what's super fascinating about Keller's customer-based brand equity model is how it maps out the actual journey of brand building. It's basically a ladder. You start at salience, which is just basic identity, and you climb all the way up to resonance, which is deep, unwavering relationship. We see this play out brilliantly with a regional textile firm mentioned in the text. They used this exact ladder to fundamentally redesign how they tell their story. They completely stopped nerding out over product features like thread count or fabric durability and shifted entirely to telling rich cultural narratives. They bypassed basic performance and went straight for deep emotional feelings and resonance.
So, looking at how that bakery and that textile firm operated, Mira arrives at another massive realization. True brand equity isn't just about financial valuation or market share percentages. It is what gives a brand its unique, resonant voice. It's the very thing that allows a brand to speak clearly and meaningfully to the exact people who need to hear it most. Section 3. Strategy as a story. Let's see how this all builds into the broader architecture of a brand. So, when a brand starts to grow, it inevitably has to figure out how to structure itself. Take the umbrella strategy, for example. Our cooperative dairy uses one single unified name for everything: their milk, their curd, their paneer. The trust essentially flows from the master brand down to every single product they make. On the flip side, we have the sub-brand strategy. The publishing house uses distinct, entirely separate names, different imprints, for its children's books, its poetry collections, and its academic texts. And they do this intentionally, to curate distinct sanctuaries and totally different vibes for entirely different audiences.
But here is the crucial takeaway. Whether you decide to use a unified umbrella approach or a fragmented sub-brand approach, you aren't just drawing up some boring organizational chart. As Arav notes back on that terrace, strategy isn't really about corporate structure at all. It's about story. Every single structural decision you make dictates exactly how your narrative unfolds to the people buying your product.
Section 4. Naming and nurturing. Let's dive into the most front-facing part of that story.
Naming a brand is notoriously brutal. I mean, most of us can't even agree on what to name a new pet, right? But it's all about choosing words that are memorable, meaningful, and adaptable. Let's look at how our examples totally nailed this. That bakery we keep mentioning, they didn't just call their product a millet cookie. No, they named it the Morning Hug. I mean, that instantly evokes warmth and a comforting daily routine. The textile firm chose names rooted deeply in local dialects, meaning every single item carried a specific sense of place and memory. And a school mentioned in our text, they named their learning app Kulna, which translates to open. As Arav points out, a truly great name is never just a label. It acts as an open invitation.
Now, once you actually have a strong name and a fiercely loyal audience, you're inevitably going to face the prospect of brand extensions. Put simply, this is just taking your existing brand equity and using it to launch completely new products. For instance, our cooperative dairy extended its trusted brand from standard milk into an entirely new line of herbal drinks. And our publishing house, they leveraged their stellar reputation to start hosting live writing workshops under their imprint.
It is so easy to be cynical about brand extensions, to view them as a lazy cash grab or as a brand just stretching itself way too thin. But Mira offers a really vital perspective shift here. She argues that launching new products isn't about stretching, it's about stewardship. Think about it. You've built a community that completely trusts you. An extension is simply storing that hard-earned trust into new areas where you can serve them even better. You're just taking care of the relationship as it naturally grows.
Section 5. The heart of loyalty. This brings us to the final, most intimate phase of our explainer. Arav explains that loyalty generally falls into one of two buckets. First up, we have behavioral loyalty. This is basically repeat purchasing driven purely by habit, convenience, or price. You know the drill. You buy the exact same coffee every morning simply because the shop is on your route to work. The second bucket is attitudinal loyalty. This one is characterized by deep emotional attachment and genuine connection. People return not because you're the cheapest or the easiest option, but because of your brand's actual presence in their life.
And Mira jumps in to reiterate her incredible reframe here. If we are genuinely aiming for that attitudinal connection, we have to realize that true loyalty completely bypasses transactional retention. It is not about tricking a customer into an endless subscription model. It is about actively cultivating a deep, ongoing, two-way relationship.
We can actually see some beautiful examples of how to foster that relationship, of treating loyalty not as a metric, but as a sense of belonging. The bakery didn't just hand out a boring punch card. They offered really thoughtful birthday discounts, remembered specific customer preferences, and even hosted in-person customer circles, so people felt they truly belonged there. The cooperative created a loyalty program based not on how much milk you bought, but on your overall contribution to the community. And the school, they built incredibly active alumni mentorship circles. In every single one of these cases, loyalty was never a cold transaction. It was a bond built entirely on mutual trust.
As our source text draws to a close, the scene naturally drifts back to that quiet terrace. The brass emblem sits perfectly still on the notebook, the rose petal almonds are almost entirely gone. The whole space just feels like this layered sanctuary, full of memory. Mira whispers her opening thought one more time. Branding is not just image, it's intimacy. And Arav perfectly caps off the thought, adding, and loyalty is not just habit, it's heart. Our source leaves us with a series of really profound reflections jotted down in that notebook. And I want to pose them directly to you to close out our explainer today. If you are out there building a project, a business, or a community, start right here. What does your name actually evoke? Is it just a placeholder label, or is it a true invitation? Number 2, dig deeper into the equity you're building. Ask yourself, what fundamental promise do I consistently deliver on? Once you strip away the functional, everyday traits of your product, what is the emotional truth you are genuinely providing to your audience? Third question. Take a hard look at your strategies for keeping people around. Are you just relying on convenient behavioral habits, or are you genuinely asking yourself, how do I build true belonging? How are you actively moving beyond mere transactions to foster a real, trusting community?
And finally, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to carry with you today. Take a really honest look at the metrics you track and the relationships you cultivate and ask yourself, What kind of loyalty do I honor? Are you just endlessly chasing the convenience of habits, or are you truly out there capturing hearts? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. See you next time.